Welcome to She's Got This, the podcast for ambitious women who want to grow and scale their business and use the power of intentional energy direction to design their very best life. I'm your host, Christine Gallagher, award-winning business coach and mindset mentor to female entrepreneurs. If you're ready to own your brilliance while making bank, step into the absolute best version of you, and become a force for positive change in the world, you're in the right place. Let's do it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. You're listening to She's Got This. I'm your host, Christine Gallagher, and I'm so glad that you joined me today. Today's topic feels like coming full circle. The reason being that I personally started out as a social media consultant way back in 2009. And here we are in 2022. And I mention this for two reasons. One is because it's so interesting to see that what I was teaching back then, as far as the goal of social media, has not changed at all. It was and still is about building relationships, connection, community, and engagement. There may be some new platforms around since then, but the purpose of it has endured. And number two, I actually had a laugh to myself thinking about how many times I was told that social media was a fad back then and how it would never truly be taken seriously in the business world. So obviously we know how that turned out. So social media marketing itself is a huge topic, but in this episode, I wanted to focus on one main aspect of it, and that is seeding. Now, I first heard that word as a new entrepreneur, and I didn't totally get it at first, but I soon saw how important it is, especially when it comes to not coming off as a smarmy salesperson when talking about yourself and your business. So when you get down to it, conversations lead to clients. But the important distinction here is where you are coming from in those conversations. So I remember watching the finale of the Oprah Winfrey Show over a decade ago, and she said something that stuck with me. I've talked to nearly 30,000 people on this show, and all 30,000 had one thing in common. They all wanted validation. If I could reach through this television and sit on your sofa or sit on a stool in your kitchen right now, I would tell you that every single person you will ever meet shares that common desire. They want to know, do you see me? Do you hear me? Does what I say mean anything to you? So people want to be seen and heard and know that they matter. They want to feel a part of something. So that's why you hear people talk about empathy and vulnerability and storytelling when it comes to using social media for business. But the question I've gotten many times over the years goes something like this. I know I need to sell if I'm in business, but how do I do that without coming off as that person? People don't like being sold to in a gross way, just like you don't. So that's what I want to connect the dots about today. When you come from a place of neediness and desperation, that's not the energy you want to be in, of course. Not to mention that the types of clients you attract from that place are not going to be very ideal. I talk a lot about how 90% of your results come from who you are being, right? So if we know that, what are you supposed to be posting? That is where seeding comes in. It refers to the method where brands and business owners strategically place relevant content to attract people and get them interested in what they have to offer. So assuming you know what you're offering, I wanted to share a few examples of how to do this, which my own clients know all about because it's one of the things I teach them in depth. And I want to mention that you can mix it up and share content that speaks to people wherever they are. Just first getting to know you, people who are warmer because they've been following you, and people who are pretty much ready to buy. So the first example should make sense because it's about letting people know that you know your stuff and that you're confident in it and your unique perspective on it, that you've got knowledge to drop. Now, if you're selling a service or let's say a course that is literally teaching people how to do something, then that's pretty straightforward. But if we're talking about doing it from a non-icky place, you want to think about it like this. What are all the ways you could convey your expertise and not just in a straight up buy my stuff kind of way? Well, you could do it in a live stream or a reel. You could do it in a live strategy session you do for somebody, like a hot seat coaching kind of situation. You could do an Ask Me Anything type of virtual event where people can come and ask their biggest questions related to what you do. I've seen people hold virtual happy hours to do this as well, where everyone shows up with their favorite beverage, which makes it kind of fun. And I've done versions of all of these over the years, and I still do. So depending on what you're doing, you can weave in an offer if it makes sense, or let it be purely about demonstrating your expertise. But even if you do make an offer for something paid, you'll be doing it in the context of providing real value for people. One of the more recent ways I've done this is at the end of a free 5-day training series I did back in the spring. The series itself was me sharing value and knowledge, but I also added on an Ask Me Anything session and positioned it as a bonus for those who signed up for the series. The overall purpose of the series was to enroll people in my 12-month mastermind, and I was able to weave that in while showing people that I know my stuff. A twist on this is where you show some vulnerability and realness. For example, doing a reel on Instagram where you show that even you don't always have it all together, which sounds like the opposite of sharing knowledge, but it's all in how you do it, because there can be a teaching moment within it while still being relatable. One random example of how I've done this is where I've talked about how I've been guilty of overstuffing programs and courses in the past, just packing way too much stuff in and overwhelming people. But it was in the context of teaching people why I learned that's actually one of the worst things you can do if you want clients to continue on with you. So there was a lesson. The second example is about seeding your actual life. And not in a here's me in a different color Lamborghini every day of the week kind of way. It's more about showing a peek behind the scenes to show what makes you, you. And again, you can mix it up. I've shared more mundane things and also things that show, hey, I'm doing the damn thing, I've got it going on, while also teaching them something. So I've shared hobby stuff like me paddleboarding with friends. I've shared photos of a stack of care packages I was sending out to my clients one day, video of me live from my convertible with the top down. I've shared pics of gifts clients have given me working out, going for a massage, ordering champagne, masterminding with colleagues, lying in a hammock, or sitting on the beach on a random Wednesday. For example, with the beach one, I turned it into a little teaching moment where I shared that setting up systems and automation in my business allows me to take off and go to the beach when I want to. And systems and automation is one of the things that I help my clients with. Another way to seed is by sharing what you stand for in a way that reflects your values. So I know some people shy away from anything that might be looked at as controversial, but for those who know me, I've never been one to do that, for better or worse. For me, it's about being perfectly happy to repel people whose values are way, way far away from mine, which of course also attracts the people who are more aligned, which to me is a win. I've done this in several ways, but a particularly memorable time was around the election in 2020, when things were really heavy with the pandemic and politics and racial disparity and so many other issues. I did an impromptu live in my free Facebook group, which has about 7,000 members. You can search the words "just add Wi-Fi" on Facebook if you want to join us. I didn't mince words and I took several stands. The amount of engagement and comments, which were 99% supportive, was insane. There was teaching in there, but overall, it just gave people a better idea of who I am and what I'm passionate about. That creates connection, that builds relationships, and that bonds you to people. Another way to seed is almost what I would consider a kind of cliffhanger style. For example, sharing something and then saying, stay tuned for my video on YouTube coming out tomorrow that shares more. One way I've done this is to share a picture with a friend and colleague who is pretty well known in the industry that I've actually met in person, and saying that I have something special from us coming up tomorrow, for example, which of course is sharing more about whatever I am an affiliate partner with them for. In a kind of similar vein, you can seed an upcoming thing that you're doing For example, an upcoming live stream. I've done a short live that's me filming myself walking to a local coffee shop to work and telling them I'm on my way to go to work to put the finishing touches on content that I'll be teaching them in a special live later that evening or the next day. So it's about giving them a little bit of a sneak peek. One of my favorite ways to seed is through social proof. So this is success stories, testimonials, case studies, etc. We regularly post client love graphics in social with testimonials, speaking to results clients have gotten with me, but we also film short interviews with clients and share screenshots of kind words and kudos we've gotten, which is great because you see that it's coming directly from the person themselves. Another way we do it is by relaying wins clients have had, but not in an obnoxious way. There's a little bit of an art to it. So let me give you an example of one versus the other. We wouldn't post something like, directly because of me, my client Susan just made $20,000 in a half hour. She couldn't do it on her own, but she finally hired me, and that's the only thing that turned things around. That's kind of gross, right? But I have posted things like, when one of your XYZ course students tells you she just secured a $24,000 contract using what she learned, and then some smiley emojis. So that just has an entirely different feel. And what I notice is that when people comment on something like that, they're genuinely happy and excited for the person. So it's feel good all around. We've been talking about seeding, but you might wonder if it's cool to just straight up teach or straight up sell. And I believe that both are great to have in the mix. One thing I've done many times is have a live stream or a live stream series or a Zoom series and use it to teach. But at the end, I include a call to action for whatever it is I'm offering that the teaching content related to. I'll usually do it pretty casually and tell them that I'll drop the link in the comments for them to learn more. But I've also done YouTube videos or lives to straight up teach and give value, and that's it. I think the key is balance, and as I've been saying, to mix it up. So for yourself, you can think about, where does your social presence need a tune-up? And don't overthink it, just start somewhere. Of course, my suggestion would be to do some kind of seeding post. And by the way, don't get caught up in the numbers so much. It's not about going viral or vanity metrics. Don't feel like, OMG, I need to have 10,000 people on my email list or 20,000 followers to get results with any of this. It's about appreciating one human at a time. And you can do a lot with one-by-one audience building. It's about connection, not numbers. And I think we can often forget that. And know that this is a long-term strategy. It's going to work in the long term. We have all seen some strategies work amazingly, and then the next year they don't work anymore. But in business and in life, creating relationships, connection, and conversation, no matter the platform, never goes out of style. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or share it with someone else who would find it helpful. To stay connected with me, please visit shesgotclients.com and sign up for my email list at the bottom of the page. Or feel free to share this episode on your Instagram and tag me at Christine G, and I'll repost you. I would love to share this with as many people as possible. I love you. Until next time, keep shining your light.